Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
Hey doctors, what I want to talk about today is what happens when the plaintiff attorney becomes the defense attorney. Something a lot of doctors in the personal injury space don't think about, but it's not all that uncommon for an attorney to switch sides, to go from defense to plaintiff or to go to plaintiff from defense. So that being said, one of the things that you need to really take into consideration, and that I teach and coach and everything else, is that you're basically not a patient advocate. You're not an insurance company advocate. You're not a defense attorney advocate. You're not a plaintiff attorney advocate. You're not a patient advocate. What you're an advocate for is really good clinical science, really good clinical consensus, and really great results, physical recovery results. That's where the patient actually gets better. That should be your main concern. If that's your main concern, and those are your, what you have your primary focus on, you're good. You're gold in the personal injury market. Look, a long time ago, I remember when I had my epiphany moment. I was sitting on a Sunday. I used to work 7 days a week. Sundays would be my paperwork overflow day. And I just remember on this particular Sunday, I was sitting in my office, and I had probably been in private practice now for about 7 years, and maybe 5 to 7 years, somewhere in there. And I remember I was sitting there writing all these scathing reports to State Farm or Allstate or whoever the insurance carrier was, and they had an IME, and I'd write these 15 or 20 page rebuttal reports. And I remember sitting there thinking, my God, I'm so antagonistic to these insurance carriers, but if I look around, they pay for everything that I have. They pay for my home, they pay for rental properties, they pay for my family. They pay me a very good income. They allow me to pay my staff very well. And so why am I so antagonistic against the insurance carrier? Because the insurance carrier, as I had this epiphany moment, has the same goal as I do. Okay, my goal always in treatment was accurately identify what the problem is and then quickly rehabilitate it. So the patient was as quickly and as fully rehabilitated as possible. That's what I believed every patient wanted. If I walk in, I've got a shoulder injury, I'm not looking to go to the PT or looking to go to the DC, or I'm not looking to go to the doctor to say, hey, take as long as you want to and let's get really crappy results with rehab. I, as a patient, want the fastest, most expedient, most efficient rehabilitation, most effective rehabilitation I can get. And that's what I thought that people wanted. And that's what we were there to deliver. Now, when I started to look at that, I was like, wow, that's exactly what the insurance carrier wants. The insurance carrier wants the same thing. So that day I realized I was the most beneficial asset to the insurance carrier, who I'd been the most antagonistic to, right? Because they wanted the same thing. They wanted accurate diagnosis. They wanted the patient fully recovered as quickly as possible so that the long-term benefits that they might need to pay out were minimized. And that was my job. I knew that was my job. So, that's what I decided to do. But one of the things that did also is it allowed me to actually go, oh my gosh, I'm more aligned with the insurance carrier than I probably am with anybody else. But it also allowed me to stop being on someone's side and to remain neutral and to remain clinically neutral. And that was a really important point for me. That was a big moment for me. And it can be a big moment for some of you as well. So, one of the things is that if you're in the personal injury market enough, just like I have been, you're going to find that the plaintiff attorney becomes the defense attorney. I remember one time I was sitting doing a defense attorney. Defense attorney was questioning me on an excessive motion study that I had done, and we had just a regular deposition. 2.5 years later, I get a call from a doctor in the same community, and they had a very large case, very large dollar amount. To me, it was the highest dollar amount I've ever heard of. Since that time, I've heard of even higher dollar amounts, which kind of shocks me for treatment, because this was a shocking level of treatment bill for me personally. I'd never heard of anything this large before. And so they asked me to help. I looked and I went, okay, yes, the documentation was not really all that as good as it could be. And perhaps the patient got a little bit into where they were self-managing. And, the doctor let this thing go, and, he needed some help. So when I agreed to come in with him and the plaintiff attorney to discuss it, lo and behold, guess who the plaintiff attorney was? The attorney that was a defense attorney 3 years earlier, right? And he remembered me. He did both. He did both defense and, plaintiff work. So the moral of the story, doctors, is that whatever you put out, you want to be able to put out any information or any approach. You go to attorneys. I think it's crazy when these doctors, go out and say, look, we're going to increase your claim value. Good documentation automatically increases claim value. Injuries increase claim value. The things that increase claim value are the things that increase claim value. But patients' full recovery and patients that actually recover fast and efficiently reduce claim value. And that's really where you want to be. You want to be somebody that actually can seriously reduce claim value, because that means you're reducing the long-term care needs that the patient has. That means you got a great physical recovery. But let's say you're out there and you're promoting, hey, I can get you a higher claim value. Oh my gosh, we do a certain type of testing and I can get you increased claim value. And, I've even seen doctors out there, oh my God, I can't believe that they do this, where they'll go out and say, hey, look, with a certain type of injury, insurers have to set aside so much money. I mean, it's just crazy what I've seen. And the people that are teaching that stuff are even crazier. Like, I have no idea where that stuff comes from, but they do it nonetheless. So the moral to the story is that you want to go out and you want to communicate in a way that you're comfortable communicating to the state attorney general, to any plaintiff attorney, to any insurance company attorney. I mean, when I talk the same way with a defense attorney as I would with a plaintiff attorney, as I would with anyone. Right? The injuries are the injuries. The documentation is the documentation. But you have to start to think with the fact that when you're talking with somebody, especially an attorney, that attorney can flip. And remember also, I don't think a lot of doctors realize this, but when you're doing something online, you don't necessarily want to talk about, the claim values. And what I mean by that, you can get into it. Look, everyone's gotten into it, where you said, okay, this thing resulted in a claim settlement of this amount. And the only thing I've ever said is I could care less about settlement values. I really don't. I've said it for the last 15 years. I'll say it again. I don't care. I never did care about settlement claim values. Right? That's something the attorney and the patient work out. My job as a doctor is to document in a way that allows the patient access to any benefits they may be entitled to. My job is not to determine what those benefits are. My job is just to document it. Document the patient's story. What are the injuries? What is the story? How did rehab go? What are the effects of the injury still on their daily life? What could they expect their future be, and what kind of future needs might they need? That's my job. Now, that determines benefits. That's exactly what it does. So, I'm not going to say that my job doesn't somewhat help to determine claim value, because as I said, my job is to document in such a way the patient has access to any benefits they may be entitled to. I don't know what those benefits are. I don't know how insured up they are. I don't know what the policies are. I don't care. Not as the doctor. I don't care. But what I wanted to just take a short little riff on today was, be thinking with, when you're talking with attorneys, that attorney can be working both sides. If he's not busy, he or she may be working, doing defense work. And then whatever it is that you're positioning yourself to be, that can be used against you, especially if it's taken in the wrong context, which a lot of times it is. So the bottom line is just know that plaintiff attorneys can become defense attorneys and defense attorneys can become plaintiff attorneys. But the one that you want to watch for is the plaintiff attorney becoming the defense attorney. I've had it happen. I've experienced it for myself. And I just thought I'd do a short program on that today just to get you thinking when you're talking with attorneys. So doctors, one of the things is if you have any questions, we have a program called the Smart Injury Doctors Program. You just go to smartinjurydoctors.com, check us out. Call us at 800-940-6513 if you want any further information about our program. We also have a free Facebook user group called the Smart Injury Doctors Practice Building Success Network. That's a community of doctors that are wanting to do better treatment work, wanting to do better work in the personal injury space. So we have some good free resources. Doctors, as always, I appreciate your time, your attention, and listening to these. And I appreciate the fact that I get to deliver content, hopefully content that helps you out in some way. And I look forward to delivering more content on the next podcast. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.